We'll start that again. Welcome, everybody. My name is Elizabeth Foster. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the president of NAWBO, New York City, which is the National Association of Women Business Owners. We're an organization that has been around for 45 years. We're actually 45 years this year, which is really exciting. And we started when a woman business owner could not get a loan without, or a credit card, in fact, without a male family member co-signing. So that was in 1975, which is crazy. And so what our organization did is that we rallied, and together we actually created the HR 50/50 was passed as a direct result of the work that our association does, which allows each and every one of you ladies to have a credit card under your own name without having to have a man sign. I know, it's kind of crazy, isn't it? All right, so today we are joined by S Lee Wright, and Lee is actually, Lee and I have a very interesting story. So we were introduced when I first came to America. That was probably about 7 years ago, and then I moved here about 6 years ago, something like that, roughly. And at that point, so and we met, and we just automatically had such a great connection, and we just became good friends, and we shared a lot, and we just, you know, you know what, sometimes when you meet that person and you just go, oh, you're one of my tribe, and you just kind of know what it's all about. So Lee and I have that connection. And then of course I found out what she did, which was really cool. So she was actually introduced through my husband, and they're both in the design industry. So Lee's, she trained as I know an interior designer. I know there's some architecture, a little bit of architecture in there as well. She'll tell you more about it. And Feng Shui. So actually she and my husband have a lot in common from that point. So it's perfect that we're talking today, and he's about to walk through the door. So,
I know, it's so great.
All right, so Lee, thank you so much for coming to join us. I'm actually gonna change my background, because whilst it's kind of fun, it is a little distracting for me. So I'm actually gonna
look like you're a hologram, honey. You look like you're actually already with your husband in the back room.
There you go. So here we go. Let me just go back to, this is my real background. This is my business. So, but it's a little bit of fun to start us off with. So Lee, tell us, I know that you've been in the design world for many, many years. How did you get interested in it? What was that starting point? And tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into it and where you trained, and then we'll kind of get into the real meat about what we're talking about today, which is going to be, you know, how to design a sustainable life. And that is, sustainability right now is huge, but I digress. Lee, tell us, you can tell I love doing these. I have such great fun. So Lee, tell us a little bit about you and how you got involved, and tell us more about that.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. And just to share that, yeah, soul sisters, and meeting Liz as I was changing my life, changing my space to change my life. Now 5 years ago, Liz was moving into New York and I was moving to Spain. And so our relationship has been this kind of very beautiful dance, and it's nice to know that we can continue with this distance. So thank you for this fireside chat opportunity. Great question. Is apropos for what we're talking about, why or how I became a designer. I think I learned early on that my space deeply impacted how I felt inside, you know, and I was constantly changing and rearranging my entire house. So probably to the horror and dismay of my family, you know, but it was something that I intuitively understood, that our space, the interior spaces, our built environments, made a very big difference with it. And that seriously was a trajectory that started my whole life. I'm one of those lucky people that I studied, I went to college to study advertising. And I hated it, and I almost failed my first semester. And I realized that they had an interior architectural department. And so I immediately switched. My heart told me it was the right thing to do. It was a very difficult program to get in, but for some reason they accepted me. And 5 years later, I had a great degree in interior architecture and knew that I had found my passion, designing spaces for people. A very long, windy road leads me to here, where I'm talking in a more holistic way about designing a sustainable life, whereas interior design is just one part of that, right? And many of you may recall that I did a lecture last summer on this, and that lecture was inspired to share my changing my own space to change my life. As I shared that when I met Elizabeth, I was changing my space. And so many people asked me what was going on with that and why I had done that. So last summer in New York, I did a workshop called How to Design Your Sustainable Life that was based on the story of how I had changed to do that. And today we are in a very chaotic, challenging moment. And it seems apropos to start this conversation again. And why I'm here right now with, the president of NAWBO, who is also just one of my dear friends, is because we were having that chat. Because I'm having this important chat with anybody that is willing to have this chat with me. And if you guys are on this call, it's because you too recognize how important this moment in time is. It's a very vulnerable moment. We are in a massive, massive global humanitarian, our whole human connectedness is in a transformation. We are in a moment of great change. And I'm guessing if I asked you, are you feeling a little bit of the chaos that's out there? We're in a brand new world. Most of us are in confinement wherever you are. I happen to be in Europe. I think all of you guys are in the New York region, but it's all over the world, right? And, it's about how we got to this point that brings this conversation to the top, right, Elizabeth? Why we were talking about why sustainability is so much important, because we have to start looking again at what is sustainability. And with that, I'm really happy to be sharing my story and my 4 tips on what I think are the foundational pillars for building a new, more sustainable life. But I want you to type in questions. If we can't get to it in this next 45 minutes, I want to continue this conversation with each and every one of you that is interested in having this conversation. I'm going to try now to use technology, and I'm going to share my screen with you. Let's see, can I do this?
Lisa's Zoom newbie.
Woohoo!
There she goes.
Okay. So I think I've done it correctly, right? Is everybody telling me it's good? Yeah, you can see the sustainability definition. This is my definition. Living a life that can be done so in harmony without long-term negative results to yourself, others, or the planet. This is me simplifying. I don't want to go kind of highbrow. I don't want to go Oxford Dictionary on you. I want to share what I think is really important about where we are in this moment in time. Sustainability has been a cornerstone to my design business and my life for a long time. As Elizabeth shared with you, I both do interior architecture and holistic design and Feng Shui, which is also a way of looking at things in a very holistic, big picture way. And that's pretty much what sustainability is about. Sustainability is looking at everything. And I believe that right now we are in this position because the world was not in a very sustainable place. We were living in a very immediate gratification moment, And that is something that is counterintuitive to what sustainability is about. Sustainability is about long-term visioning. And I'm a big believer in trying to help people figure that one out. Let's see. So 2 questions I have started asking myself quite a long time ago are about making my decisions. Is this sustainable for myself, for the world, and for everyone? And can this decision, action, and business be sustained? This is a really pertinent slide because it's by a dear friend of mine who is no longer with us. But Raphael Love was a person that made this quote because we were having this really important conversation in 2012. So here we are in 2020, and I'm still asking the same questions, but I'm inviting you to start asking these questions yourself every day about all the decisions you make. Today, I'm going to share with you my 4 foundational pillars. We need to connect more. We need to slow down. We need to be in nature more, and we need to make it simple. I'm not going to be the first person that has shared this with you. You know, you guys are all smart. My guess is most of you are on this call because you're pretty conscious human beings. You are mindful and aware. Most of you, I guess, because we're part of the NAWBO group, are women business owners. So you're out there, you're entrepreneurial, you're wanting to make a difference in the world. These 4 tips are hugely important, but it's interesting because right now I'm sharing this with you again because I shared it last summer. I started the conversation 10 years ago, a decade ago. I teach sustainability courses, bathroom design, kitchen design, all these things to help my design tribe become more conscientious of the choices and the decisions they make and how they impact the world. And the reason today is so important, and Elizabeth, I think you can attest to this, is because now we are in a moment where we've been forced to stop. We've been hit hard with a global crisis that is challenging our health systems everywhere. And we thought we had time. We thought we could make these changes. We thought slowly we'll do it. Someone else is taking care of it. People, I'm here to tell you that's not true. I live in Spain. Spain is a disaster right now. You guys are in New York City. We don't have time. We don't. The time is now. And during my own confinement, I have also been having to reevaluate my own internal stuff and listening to one of my own personal gurus is Eckhart Tolle, big believer in the power of now, learning again to be present, to be in this moment. Because for me, that helps me to stop the clutter in my brain, stop too much worrying about the past and the anxiety about the future, and allowing myself to get present. And with that presence, this time is all we actually know that we have. It will help you. But one of the biggest shifts we've got to make is thinking that we can do it tomorrow. In Spain, it's always like mañana, mañana. Listen, that is obviously not working. You can just see by reading the papers or listening to anything that's going on in Spain, that mañana, mañana attitude is not working. The second big myth buster, people, I got out there, we have got to break this collective delusion that we have got that work is super important, that money is super important. I became a holistic designer because I realized, and a Feng Shui specialist, because I realized our life is a little bit more complicated than just that. In Feng Shui, there are 9 guas, 9 areas of your life, and that is a whole life. We need to break that. I'm not going to get into the ideology and politics and all of that, but the dogma and the ideology of capitalism is a bit of a broken system. It gets us to keep believing that work and money is more important than anything else. I know that you guys are all educated, you read, you're in this moment too. You're stuck at home in confinement, so you probably are reading the news, or at least reading online news sources. And there is a struggle going on right now, but we need to break that. We need to break the pattern of thinking that work and money is all that there is. You know, the old adage of, you know, health is your true wealth couldn't be more true than it is today. So connect more. I really think that this is super important. This is the year of Metal Rat 2020 from a Feng Shui New Year perspective, and I did a talk on it in January. And the number one thing I felt energetically when I was reading all of the charts and listening and talking to people was, we need to have creative collaborations. We're not supposed to be doing this stuff alone. We aren't supposed to be doing this alone. And even more so, we are not in competition. This is a global problem, and we need to start acting like a whole species, all human beings, not fighting your neighbor. There's a lot of that going on. I'm seeing it happening in the States, between states, because we don't have a leader at the top. It's happening in Europe with the European Union. You know, that's not working. The only thing that we can control is our own self. We need to break part of that pattern that I believe that our society has made, where we've become competitors against each other instead of collaborators with each other. And right now is a perfect moment to readjust that and start working together as teams. We need to start resisting that kind of urge to be competitive with each other and be much kinder, much more about focusing on those in need, you know, and being in Feng Shui and a holistic practitioner. I really believe in the power of gratitude for what I do have. I'm incredibly grateful for what I have, because there's a lot of people who are suffering significantly more than anyone in this chat is. And anything I can do to try to help them now and in the future is something that I'm also going to invite you guys to do. So the big thing is about connection. It's really nice that technology allows us to connect this way. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I'm incredibly grateful for this, because it's something that 5 years ago when I moved to Spain, I can disclose this now, I wasn't sure I could do that. But I needed to get out of Dodge. I needed to leave New York City. I needed to change my space and go somewhere different that was more healing for me. And I had hoped that I was going to be able to do my job online. And I have discovered that I can. Thanks to people like you who are open. And even if I'm not like the Zoom queen yet with this technology, I have other platforms that I know how to use. But it's about connecting with your heart and being with your intention to connect and stay connected with people. I have a friendship with Liz in New York City, and I live in Spain for 5 years. We met just as I was leaving. So you can connect. Don't let those old stories and those old patterns stop you from doing that. Right now, we need to be empowered together. We need to work as a society and a collective in your communities, as well as kind of from a global perspective. The second thing, slowing down, anyone that knows me knows I talk about this a lot. I know New York City's vibration is a little bit different. It must feel amazing now. I remember during the blackout in New York, how it went from this kinetic kind of crazy energy to really calm. I'm imagining New York must feel similar to that right now, yeah? So slowing down, this is forced slow down. I get it's kind of almost like taking away your, ice cream from a kid or from an addict. It's like, we're so busy, 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 busy. I know I was that person for a long time. This forcing you to slow down is a great opportunity to reset a pattern in your brain that busyness is not serving you. Another thing that I think our society has sold us, and we bought it. Work really hard, get on that little treadmill, run, 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 run. When you are busy, you do not think properly. Mental chaos creates an inability to process information. I get that probably sounds like you get it, but really listen to that. Chaos stops you from making good decisions. It stops you from getting clarity on everything. And so you really need to breathe into the fact that you have been forced to slow down. Do not do what a lot of people are doing, which is, I can't wait until this is over and I can get back to life as normal. There is no normal. This is the new normal. Life will never go back to the way that it was before. And if you are in the frame of thinking that it is, I am here to tell you that you are not right. There is no way that the world can go through this kind of radical transformation and not come out the other end very differently. And now you have a choice on how you're going to come out differently and how you're going to show up in that world. And if you allow yourself to jump right back onto that treadmill, then you are missing one of the greatest opportunities to transform your own life and the life of everybody around you, because there is a massive ripple effect, people. Your energy and your vibration affects everybody that you come into contact with, just like the virus, right? So you need to be conscientious of that invisible energy inside of you, that calm, peaceful energy. Really start to hone it, really start to own it, and allow yourself to be empowered with it. Because when you slow down, you can start to think long term. And that goes back to sustainability. It is not about instant gratification. It is so much about the long-term gain for all of us. Number 3, you got to be in nature. It is something that I know you can do when you're in a city. I see it. You can appreciate a flower, a tree. There are many parks. So being an urban dweller most of my life, I get when people will say, but Lee, you moved to Spain and you live by the seaside, so now you're kind of able to go into nature. It's not true. When I was in the city, I made sure that I was connected to nature too, on a regular basis. And that, I believe, contributed to my holistic approach, my desire to be more sustainable, and my complete connection with the problems in our climate and our environment. And I believe fundamentally in my heart that the biggest reason we're having problems in our climate and all the environmental issues are because of a disconnection with nature. If we can reconnect with nature, a lot of the solutions are going to start to come. Your balance is going to be there. And some good news, my boyfriend, who's the one that always censors the information that's coming to me during this crisis, and he's a bit of a scientist, and he looks at the statistics, and he was sharing with me that there is a possible new cure for the virus coming out, and it is based on enzymes. So they're using nature to teach us how to fix the problem. So being in nature, looking at nature from a design perspective, biomimicry is fascinating to me about making sure that you get into that vibration. I'm a big eco advocate. I do it all the time, and I believe that we have no other home. We have no planet B. This is it. Greta had it right. We have got to make the leaders understand. But the more you connect to nature, the more you become a tree hugger, trust me, you're going to want to do it. I started crying the other day because I looked and fell in love with a tree, and this woman told me that it was dying. I'm crying because a tree is dying, but it's so beautiful, and it brings, fresh air in a world right now that's feeling very toxic to me, that it actually hurt me. So I want you to become a tree hugger too. So number 4, keep it simple. We love making things complicated. And I really, really, really think that that is a delusion. It doesn't need to be complicated. We need to think long-term. When you're slowing down, it's a lot easier to keep things simple. You throw away the clutter. Clutter here, clutter out here, they're interconnected. I'm a big believer in simplifying your space because that helps simplify your mind. Simplify your mind will help you simplify your space. Everything is interconnected, and keeping it simple, one step at a time. And with that, I'm also going to say, I'm giving a lot of information. And right now we are in, as I was saying, this massive transformation. If you feel that you can't focus, it's kind of normal because we've got a lot of shifts energetically going on. So if you can only do one thing, do just one thing well, and then move on to the next thing. Be gentle with yourself, but keep it simple. Do not make that to-do list too overwhelming to freeze you and stop you, because we need to have people like you who are conscious human beings, mindful human beings, to do all of these things. Because once we connect more, we're slowing down and getting clarity. You're much more connected to nature, and you've got a plan. We are going to change the way that the world is going forward. One person at a time, right? You do it, and you're going to be able to touch everybody around you, because you are the architect of your own life. You can do this. Somebody once told me that they believed that their life was predestined. And I believe that you have the ability to change some things. Feng Shui is all about that. It's about changing the things you can change. And a very dear friend of mine and a client of mine reminded me, and I'm not sure I'm going to get this right, let me have the grace to change the things I can change, to not change the things or accept the things I can't change, and the wisdom to know the difference. I totally got that wrong, but I think most of you know what I'm saying, right? Be empowered with the things you can change. Own it. Totally embrace it. And feel that you have the power to do it one step at a time. Because I believe that there's a ripple effect, people. I'm sharing this with you, and if I get one of you to become a tree hugger with me, one of you that wants to do a creative collaboration, one of you that starts to think differently in regards to jumping back on that treadmill, then basically I've done my job. I really have done something hugely important in the way of the world. And that's what I'm looking to try to actually help people become much more grounded and much more holistic in the way that they look at it.